questions that have to do with A, steroids in professional wrestling, B, World Wrestling Federation, and C, any possible future litigation that he may have with Titan Sports regarding anything. Okay, those are stipulations were sent forth to us by his attorney.
But he can give out cooking recipes.
Yes. Before we even get underway, I want to thank everybody for coming in. I know a lot of people here from out of town as well. How many people here from out of town? Wow, and we'd just like to start it off before we even introduce the members of the panel tonight by hearing any comments or any criticisms or any comments at all regarding today's convention. If you think anything that you didn't like about it, anything you particularly liked about it, anything that you'd like to see changed for another convention that we'd like to have.
I thought it was great. Well put together. However, waiting in line, you think they've explained a little bit more, like we get out of here. It was kind of rushed and we realized we had to buy tickets.
Andrew, get out of here.
Andrew Goldberger, right here in the front row.
Probably had to buy a $6 ticket, I guess, so you could be in the picture of the wrestling.
Okay, so that wasn't, you didn't think that was
I'm not an electronics engineer, so I don't understand
Well, in other
why.
words, we didn't have
but the wrestlers been polite, cooperative to everybody here.
We only got 4 or 5 midgets, don't worry about it. Hi, Bruno, how you doing? Yes, sir, talk.
Johnny!
You guys that whack off at home, go tell them.
Hi, from New York, it's Johnny V.
John, you join us for this thing or what? Johnny Valley.
Gay rights. Gay. Talk about the gay rights. Hey, Bruno.
I don't know. It's not fair.
Bill, there's a call from Marlowe. Everybody have fun today? Does John have anything to worry about for next year? No. Okay.
Better food.
Yeah, the service here is horrible. Jim Hurd.
How do you feel about your transformation from Bubba Rogers to Big Boss Man? You have a success.
Yeah, I think Bubba's the greatest. I think he's done tremendous. I'm really proud of him.
Good. Okay, thanks, Jim. That's all right.
That's what I mean. Here in professional wrestling, a lot of changes are happening, and attendance has been dwindling all over the country. World Championship Wrestling, formerly the NWA, is, in my opinion, completely been flushed down the toilet bowl. And I'm going to have Jim Cornette explain his opinions.
Yeah, file I can sharpen my teeth with.
You have a man here who's certainly one of the legends of professional wrestling, starting on my left. 6-time National Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight Champion, Thesz. Sitting next to Lou is a promoter who has been doing some innovative things. He promoted a match last week between Bob Backlund and Terry Funk. It was a very, very exciting match. Really Billy Graham, as everybody knows, is a former World Wrestling Federation heavyweight champion. And I have made an announcement earlier, which I'll repeat again in front of Billy and his attorney, that we'll be talking a lot about wrestling tonight and where it's headed and what's been happening over the last year. And we're going to open it up to open questions as well here. But Billy Graham will not answer topics on 3 subjects, which is A, steroids, B, World Wrestling Federation, and C, any possible future litigation involving some aspects of his life in the wrestling business. So we have Billy Graham, Lou Thesz, Dennis Coraluzzo, who we touched upon, who was an independent wrestling promoter. Dave Meltzer is perhaps the foremost wrestling. He publishes a newsletter, which is pretty much considered New York Times of professional wrestling right now, and it's called the Wrestling Observer Newsletter.
Do you have a microphone, John?
No, we're all speaking up, though. We do not have a microphone. Does everyone hear pretty clearly?
Yeah.
Voice carrying okay for everybody? Jim Cornette, of course, needs really no introduction.
From newsletters, Carmine and myself.
You'll be
No, don't make me feel, please.
the creator.
Oh, don't worry, Mother Nature beat him to it.
There's so many newsletters.
You may have to
It was awfully nice of you guys.
right? We're waiting for Buddy Rogers.
So we'll sit over there. He's having dinner.
Buddy's still having dinner.
Just ordered a dry burger.
We'll take this corner.
All right, Jim Cornette, and also Joe Goodhart. Is also one of the, he does a wrestling, first of all, wrestling radio talk show out of Philadelphia, WIP, and is certainly considered one of the top independent wrestling promoters in this country today, doing a lot of innovative things in the Philadelphia area, bringing in stars from Japan, and of course the top independent stars available on the marketplace could always be found at Tri-State Wrestling Alliance's shows. So what we're going to do right now, I'm going to introduce Jim Cornette, and we are going to talk about, I guess the first subject on the agenda is the demise of an organization which has been historic. Jim, of course, has been with the company called National Wrestling Alliance and then World Championship Wrestling, and is not with them any longer. And Jim, we just want to have you talk to the fans and open it up to questions regarding World Championship Wrestling.
Let me just adjust it. Is this on?
You don't need it, Jim.
Right, well, you know, I think that everybody here realizes that you wouldn't be here if you didn't. That basically, you can hardly find professional wrestling anymore. The kind that Mr. Thesz did, the kind that Billy Graham did, the kind that Buddy Rogers, who's still having dinner, did, the kind that most of it, Ric Flair. Most of the guests here today are I don't want to say the word relics, but I want to say holdovers from the time that we all remember when you could actually see some professional wrestling. Now, you can get glimpses of it with Dennis's shows, you can get glimpses of it with Joel's shows, but for the most part, I think everybody will agree that nobody's doing wrestling anymore. And that's why you all have to come here and watch tapes from Japan and go back in the archives and go to old Memphis and old Georgia and old anything, because it's just not being done, and it's a sad state. But in the case of Vince McMahon, at least you've got to say one thing: he's made a lot of money with doing what he did. It doesn't have any relation really to professional wrestling as we knew it, but he's made a lot of money. On the other hand, you've got WCW, who couldn't, grab their ass with both hands in the first place. And they not only have not made it, you know, somebody said to me last week, they said, we watch the WWF and we don't believe it, but at least we understand it. We watch WCW, we don't believe it, we don't understand it either. And that comes when you have people who have taken over a company, who don't have any respect for the wrestlers, don't have any respect for the wrestling fans, don't have any respect for the wrestling business. They couldn't believe people actually watch this stuff. Well, we'll really give them something to chuckle about now. We'll have hunchbacks and ding-dongs and all that stuff, because they just didn't realize. They didn't bother. And I don't understand how that you can buy a company for however many $1 million they spent and not even bother to do the slightest bit of research as to why people liked it, what they like to see, who they like to see, or what they'd like to continue going to. So that's basically the problem. And now they've got no people in the arenas. They've got no people watching television. If I'd take being on a WCW card over the Federal Witness Relocation Program, because nobody would find me there. So that's what you've got, and it's a sad state, but I think, you know, John said maybe we could talk about what might help WCW. I think nuclear warfare, in one case, the scorched earth policy. What is this? You bringing in an airplane or what? I don't think there is any help for WCW because as long as it's owned by TBS and as long as it's run by executives who don't really give a crap about the wrestling business except to make some money, which now that was always the goal, but at least you had people doing it who knew how to do it right. They don't care anything about the wrestling business and they're not going to care about presenting it in a proper way, any kind of credible way. They just want to do funny stuff that their executive friends might think is cute and laugh at. So that's the problem. And I don't think WCW is ever going to come back around as long as they're owned by Turner Broadcasting. And then, of course, you have Jim Herd. You know, I could say lots of things about him, but it's mixed company, but I'll say that he is probably the most arrogant, obnoxious, stubborn, pig-headed. I hope somebody sends him a cassette tape. It'll, you know, as a nice follow-up to my bouquet I sent a guy. He doesn't know how to deal with people. Everybody in the office hates him. Nobody wants to be around him. Well, that's a leader to me right there. I'd follow him anywhere. You know,
Virgil?
I think you should tell if
How about Virgil?
don't know what happened 2 weeks ago when you sent this.
everybody that came up to me did. A couple of weeks ago, Stan Lane and I, we sent a nice dead black bouquet of flowers to Jim Herd, and the card said our deepest sympathies on the death of your wrestling promotion. And maybe we were slightly premature, but hopefully one of these days we can send one of those things, a big wreath, you know, when they send the ship off, it says Bon Voyage across it and address that to Herd, and, you know, he'll be off trying to screw somebody else's business up. But anyway, so that's the state of WCW. The WWF, whether you like it or not, I'm not campaigning here because I don't think it's wrestling. Like I said, you know, there's the Boston Celtics and the Harlem Globetrotters. Play the same game with the same ball, but they do it differently. I like the regular wrestling style, but at least they've made some money with it. So you can't knock them entirely. But WCW, on the other hand, don't know what they're doing. All they're trying, you know, I'm not an artist, but I can trace. They can't even copy well. So that's the thing. So anyway, now that we've established that it is really a crummy time for professional wrestling, maybe you guys have some questions for Lou or for Billy or for Dave, Joel, Dennis, anybody on either what you like about what they used to do or what you would like to see with Joel and Dennis's cards in the future, and we can, you know, talk about something positive about the wrestling profession. Anybody? Oh, well, now we can't get all these people at one time.
You gotta think about Dusty promoting it. Being the matchmaker.
Well, I think, you know, from what I see on television, I don't see anything that Dusty Rhodes, I mean, he's completely flipped or he just don't care, because I don't see anything that is even in the style of Dusty Rhodes. You know, I mean, he knows better than that, you know, so I can't explain that. I haven't been around him, so I don't know.
How much do you think Dusty Rhodes and his booking decisions are influenced by what Herd really wants in the organization?
Let me tell you, judging from my personal experience, you cannot do anything in that wrestling company without, here's Steve Chamberlain from Turner Home Entertainment. Oh, we got RoboCop coming out next month. Well, great, Steve, what do you want us to do about it? Well, we want him on a pay-per-view. Okay, fine, boom. You got somebody else over here, everybody's a closet booker. All the executive, Jeff Carr, who was the head of programming, that guy, you know, he thought he was going to be on the booking committee because he watched wrestling on TV. Well, that's like buying Ford Motor Company. You've never seen a car except on television. You all of a sudden you want to start building them. You know, so you can't do anything in that company without constant interference. They give you all the rules that you can't do. Well, let's see. Wait a minute. We can't have any blood. We can't have any violence. We can't have any vulgar or crude or rude gestures. We can't do this. We can't do that. Now go out and make $10 million. Oh, okay. You know, let's just buy a printing press and get it over with because there ain't no other way to do it. But you can't do anything without interference.
Okay, next.
Jim, what are your future plans, Jim? What direction are you going?
I'm going to hang out and wait for wrestling to come back around. That's really, you know, I'm just doing what I'm doing. Joel, Dennis, Global, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the Global Dome located there on Fantasy Island.
How was the NWA before Ted Turner took over, when Jim Crockett was with it?
Well, Jimmy Crockett, at least, number one, you know, and bear in mind, when he went out of business, he owed me some money. But still, you know, I mean, you know, there's so many other dumb shits come along after that he looks great now. You know, at least he had respect for the business. His father had been in it. He'd been in it all the time. He knew that just not anybody could do this stuff. He knew that you couldn't take a guy out of a gym and all of a sudden he's Lou Thesz. You know, he knew that you had to have talent, and they don't realize that. So Jim Crockett was